7:30. I will call the August 14th, 2025 meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust to order. First on the agenda is planning and scheduling our outreach meeting. So we have this outline of the meeting. What I guess you want to talk about the points in here that we still need to kind of figure out.
Yeah, so I think basically what we need to do, I just want to put pen to paper of just getting us organized on all the details, just so that there's no confusion of who owns what. And so I think after discussing with Amber, she will, kind of be responsible for logistics once we decide when we want to host this event, kind of organizing the location, promotion, flyers, and of course we can play a supporting role. But our main focus is the content. So what are we going to talk about? What are we going to present on? And I think, so two things. One, I made a suggestion of kind of three areas. One is kind of this introduction to our Affordable Housing Trust. And so I have some questions that we can answer just to kind of help us formulate that. I don't think that needs to be in slides. We could even have that be like a Q&A where we could literally have we could just kind of do a run through of how long has the trust existed, where do we get our funding, those types of basic things, what type of projects do we take on. Then the next one being really what Nicole put together, which is kind of the importance of affordable housing and kind of general education. And then the last piece is kind of a more specific look at one of our projects, which is 25 Worcester Street. So maybe inviting Andy. And then the other thing I think we should get prepared about is spending time writing down questions from the public. That way we're just prepared and do our due diligence going into that meeting, making sure we're answering questions.
So gathering questions in advance.
I think so. Just kind of brainstorming what do we anticipate people are going to ask, and then that way we're prepared.
Why don't we ask them?
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, if that's not going to be logistically too difficult, I think we should ask for questions, and then we'll be covering the topics that people want to cover. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you want to put out a survey and
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm just looking at the September date, and that makes me nervous. We're not going to be ready.
I agree.
I'm just thinking about there's a ton of information here.
Yeah.
That's both good and bad. And I think, especially if we're going to do some type of survey, I think we should do that. I think it's important. We might look at November.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something like that. I hate to keep putting it off, but I feel like since this is the first one, we want to get it right. And once we've done the first one, we'll have those collateral materials and whatnot, and we can do it more regularly. It's just going to take more time to put this first one together.
Sure.
Matt, an idea that I had watching the select board meeting this week and talking about the next Ask Me Anythings. I know you'd kind of thrown your hand up to possibly host a soon to be future one if this, depending on what happens with the one that they're trying to pull together now. Thinking about trying to draw the biggest possible crowd, do we think it might be helpful to either audience to do it joint? A select board Ask Me Anything with a focus on affordable housing as part of it.
I mean, I'd be totally up for that. Yeah, sure. We could invite somebody from the ZBA too. I mean, we've done that before. We've coordinated with planning and other bodies in town. So sure, yeah, absolutely.
Just thinking about something that might appeal to a larger group or try to get more people in the seats. But.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea because actually looking at our goals, we have listed that we want to host our goals to host 2 of these outreach meetings a year. So actually, if we consider that Ask Me Anything as one of them,
Sure.
then, and I almost wonder if, kind of to your point, because so I just want to go back to what I outlined. That is very open to discussion. I just wanted to give us some structure to react to what I thought would make sense. But if you want, with the survey, would it maybe make sense to host that Ask Me Anything meeting first and have those questions, and then kind of push people to say, okay, we can spend more time on that and kind of use that also as an opportunity to collect questions. Just an idea.
So,
So in chronological order, we would do the Ask Me Anything, and then like 2-3 months later, host this forum.
I don't know. So I guess if we were gonna do the Ask Me Anything, that would be something we could schedule sooner.
Probably.
Definitely a lower effort.
It would be a
Yeah.
lower effort thing.
Yeah.
And I think it would be less PowerPoint, and the Ask Me Anythings tend to be just a couple of select board members in a room, and people just come. And usually, it's honestly 3 to 5 people show up, so it's a small amount.
Okay.
We have had a couple that were larger, where we did coordinate with other town bodies, and when there was topics going on in town. So that's possible. But I would suggest if we're going to do Ask Me Anything first, that we get that. I told Craig and Mark that they're going to schedule that, so I need to not step on their toes. So that can't happen quickly, I guess. So
Okay.
I'm gonna withdraw my support for the idea of this combined
Yeah,
one, and
sure.
let's just focus on what we have. I think
Okay.
I think maybe next spring, like a future,
I'm with you.
yeah.
So, let's say they get their thing organized for October, November. Maybe in January, February timeframe, then we can do another Ask Me Anything, and presumably I would be on that one, and we can, partner with the Affordable Housing Trust and maybe planning, maybe ZBA. I think it would be an interesting thing to get together some of the principal stakeholders as far as land use priorities.
Yeah.
And have a good discussion about land use and balancing housing needs with other needs in town, commercial needs and whatnot.
Okay. So where does that put this then, this meeting?
So
Do we want to then reverse it back and do this first?
I think we should.
Okay.
I also think it makes sense to do this meeting, or at least if we're going to do an Ask Me Anything kind of thing, at least begin it with an overview of, affordable housing and where the trust fits in, just to, I feel like, cover some basic questions.
Yep.
But I think doing this event first would also allow us to, have those materials ready, like
I agree.
at presentation quality, and then maybe even make improvements for the next time. But yeah, I think it would be good to do, what we already have outlined here. I think it's a good, I think it's it's an outreach meeting. And I think it'll be good to get like the information out, and also get information in from people who
Yep.
are interested enough one way or another to come out and ask questions.
I think last time, had we talked about, if we weren't going to try to rush this for September or even early October, use town meeting as a forum, hopefully, coordinate with the moderator, see if we can get a blurb in to promote it there, and then possibly have it, if we think a couple weeks after that or early November could make sense, then, giving us an opportunity to keep it fresh in people's minds.
So we could add that to the promotion and outreach section.
So should we meet, like, just to focus on developing content for this, and like kind of like drafting out potential questions, doing even like a run through of the presentation, doing kind of a run through of our kind of Q&A, just so we know just so we're prepared. I just don't want to get up there and then just be like, oh, I'm so and so, I'm so and so, and then just
But I think we're gonna need more than the monthly meetings.
yeah. So like a separate
Yep.
like workshop time.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and if it's a quorum of the the trust, then it would be a public meeting, which I guess is fine because like it's not like it's secret information that we're going to reveal at this outreach meeting.
Right.
You know, it's all. I mean, it's in the packet already, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, just a detail to keep in mind.
Yep, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's fine, yeah.
Yep. I think that's the way to do it. But if you guys are like comfortable and have some time tonight, I think we should. Like, I really appreciate what's been put together so far, and definitely have some ideas on, like, based on having something to react to now too. So, I think generally this agenda is a good one. I think one thing that I really didn't see in the materials or the agenda was a couple of things. So just from a high level standpoint, I think there's significant benefit in showing people what affordable housing actually looks like the physical buildings, and maybe some profiling of typical residents. So, I don't want to, we have some potential anonymity issues and things like that, but I think just describing what kinds of people are in affordable housing, I think makes some sense, because I every time affordable housing gets spoken about, it tends to veer off into this direction of crime, and drugs, and undesirable people, and that's just not what it's about at all. And I'd like to figure out some way to highlight that that's not what it is, and that actually it's such an important part to be integrated in our community. So I don't know if there's a way for us to get some actual visuals of some of the affordable homes in Grafton, but there's super nice places all over Grafton.
Yeah.
To just show people, like, this is what we're talking about.
Well, your stats that you found really point to that you emailed. That was like of just how many people, the percentage of our town that fall in that category. So that would be
Yeah.
really helpful.
Yeah, and there was a slide in what Nicole had pulled together, talking about who qualifies for affordable housing, and it has kind of ranges for what the 30%, 50%, 80% of AMI were with dollar figures. I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of listing types of occupations within each of those buckets. If my wife's a social worker, she's not necessarily in that 50% AMI, sort of group where social workers are listed.
Yeah.
But I think generally, so maybe not in the columns, but as a kind of general note on that slide, or even just conversationally, we're talking about our school teachers. We're talking about our,
Yep.
DPW workers,
Plow truck drivers and
Yeah.
firefighters, and absolutely.
core members of our community. So yeah, we can decide how specific to get, but yeah, I think that's sort of high level understanding. And you're right. I think some of those statistics, from the housing production plan are just shocking, and
Absolutely.
without getting too specific, there's public comment at the select board meeting about, affordable housing project. And there are definitely concerns with a lot of these projects. They're just not in a vacuum. There's a balance to, what the development would provide to a core member of, or a core group of town that desperately needs this housing and is currently in housing that's completely unaffordable for them.
Yeah. So, yeah, something that came up for me during that discussion was just, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Because there was some discussion about, local zoning regulations and whatnot, and them being followed. And I don't know if this makes any sense to put into the presentation, but I'd love to figure out some way to sort of paint the picture of how we got here today, where Massachusetts is requiring density in zoning because towns zoned out affordable homes and density and just homes in general. Housing production has been suppressed for decades. So we're in a difficult situation now where you know, at a state level, they're making towns do it now.
Yeah.
So,
Is there like an expert that we could maybe have speak to that? Like,
maybe. I don't know, Fiona might be able to talk to that a little bit.
Yes, there are. I can reach out to a few different folks that I just know from my just my time working with them in the past. Yeah, and I think that there would be a appetite for just somebody from like CHAPA or MHP or one of those similar organizations coming and speaking to this. I'll reach out, yeah, definitely, and just yeah, give a sometimes hearing it like having a housing consultant who is doing this type of analysis and working in towns across the Commonwealth all the time. I think that would go a long way. So yeah, I will reach out.
Yeah, in terms of credibility, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea.
yeah, because that would be nice, not like an extensive thing, but to have like cap it, do like, okay, you have 15 minutes, kind of the floor is yours to kind of share, and then can answer questions throughout. But I think that makes sense to kind of, because that's the thing, is that this isn't a Grafton only, like this kind of goes beyond our borders. So it'd be nice to kind of funnel in and then talk directly, speak more specifically around Grafton.
Yep. Yeah, I think some context would be helpful. As Brian said, these things aren't done in a vacuum. There's a whole ecosystem of housing development and other things that are in play here. Another thing that I just there was a slide around the sort of, what was it? Housing goals. I think that we need to sort of rip off the housing production plan strategies section, because these goals, I think, are good, but they're not as, the housing production plan was very good in being a little bit more expansive in terms of the types of things that are needed to support affordable housing. That was,
Yeah, I feel like a few slides on that would be good.
yeah.
For one slide, this is kind of the most detail you can squeeze in, but
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so I think, somewhere in this, in terms of what can you do, maybe, put some links into things like CHAPA and MHP and the housing production plan, and to just ask people to educate. It's difficult, but groups like CHAPA, they're pretty prolific on social media. EOHLC is another one. Like they're pretty regular on social media and other. So if we can hook some people up to that, to just keep that like public consciousness there. And I guess just like I want to give time for everybody else, but the other observation that I made about the slide deck was it's very heavy on statistical information, and I think we're going to need to figure out a way to tell the story, and so maybe that's some of the work that the trust can do in another workshop, is to try to figure out, because there's so much information, try to figure out how to boil down for people who are looking at this for the first time, what does it mean? Because there are some truly shocking things.
Yeah.
So we need to highlight some of those things and tell people kind of what they're looking at. Because even myself, I've seen a lot of this before. It's dense and it's difficult to look at and consume for the first time. So just helping people be able to ingest the information in a easier way, I think. To me, like, there's a lot of great content in here, but it really just needs to be clarified into what are the key messages, I guess, to take from all of this information, and maybe put a lot of that statistical information in an appendix so that people can refer to it and look at it, but not necessarily in the slides.
Yeah, almost find a conversational or a descriptive way to get to some of the details reference them in a footnote or something like that. You know,
Exactly.
this is where you can see the table or whatever, but kind of hit them with the highlights and here's the rest if you want to go see it. But
Yep, yeah, exactly.
yeah, I was thinking the same thing with a lot of the materials that Fiona had sent. It's like, you know, every single one of these graphics and data points is incredibly salient. But how do we present it?
Yeah, there's too much as is.
Yeah.
So it just,
Yeah.
yeah, the person in me who puts together presentations from work is saying this needs to be cut by 2/3 to even be like close to being presentable. Within some reasonable time frame, you know, people are not gonna come to a 3-hour housing forum, so.
I would.
Well, I might too, actually, but I don't. Anyways, awesome information. Though. I mean, really, just incredible what's been done already. So. And some of that might just be putting together notes for the slides. Yeah. One last thing is, I do think we need to talk about 1727. It's a major project we have going on right now. The trust has spent $1 million plus on it, and I think we've got to talk about it.
Yeah, one thing I was wondering is for topic 3, and this might impact whether or not you know, we use Andy as the speaker per se, or maybe it's tag teamed. But yeah, I wonder if we could just open that up to just projects in general. Yeah, I think the majority of the conversation will probably be around 25 Worcester and 1727.
Yep, it's a good idea.
Okay, so it sounds like, so just to kind of recap what our plan is so far. So we're gonna do a survey to the public and to kind of get a list of questions, and then we are gonna focus on what affordable looks like through what the housing looks like, what typical residents look like, and also from the perspective of an expert, so an external expert to talk about the impact of affordable housing at large beyond Grafton. And then, yeah, boil down our slides and then talk specifically about the projects in play. And so maybe not, we could consider asking Andy and I forgot the gentleman's name for 1727, or that's just something based on the questions we get from the survey we plan to handle ourselves, because that might be a lot of speakers.
Yeah, it's already a lot, isn't it?
And then the other thing too is when we schedule our planning meeting to go over all of this, we'll have to have the survey results already. So we'll have to just figure out what would be a realistic timeline to put together to collect feedback. Like, and also I also want to, I think it's a great idea. I do also want to be mindful of resources and everyone's time.
Yep.
Doing a survey. Like it might just be worth us setting a workshop meeting in a few weeks and kind of brainstorming potential questions and kind of feeling good about that we've captured the sense of the community. I don't know. I've never done a survey in Grafton before, so I don't know.
I don't think it would be a huge lift, but I don't know how much you guys would learn from it. I mean, I think you can kind of predict what people are going to want to know about. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm still happy to
What do you think, Fiona?
do it. I also don't think you can do the survey too far back from the meeting. You don't want to say, hey, could you ask us a bunch of questions and we'll answer them in 2 months. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see the merits of getting an initial, get initial thoughts of people. You know, we could share it on, share it on social media, and we can push it out, and I can physically post it, and I can send it out and make sure that I'm doing absolutely everything that I possibly can to try and make sure that we're gathering some substantive feedback and questions from people that then we can kind of evaluate at the next meeting and just kind of suss through the questions and see if it's if we're actually, got anything out of it. I do agree with Amber that I think to overcome the kind of, yeah, we'll answer it in 2 months thing is just putting a disclaimer on that landing page when you first log into the survey saying, this is going to be informing our future workshop, where we plan to provide answers to all of these questions. But if you are looking for specific answers, here's, maybe we can think through how it's going to shake out. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't see any outreach. As much outreach as possible is always a good thing. I would think, just coming from, a planning perspective, like everything we do is outreach and communication and being transparent and open and trying to include people in the process. And ultimately, I think it wouldn't hurt. It would just make the event better.
Well, another way we could do it is maybe in our communications process, solicit feedback from people as far as what they're interested in. So as we're advertising it, we can just put a mechanism for them to email somebody or fill out a form or whatever, so that it's not something that we do this survey and wait for the results, and so it's a little bit more on the fly, I guess. And then we'll just shape the content as we go. Maybe that's the way to go, because I hear what you're saying. I probably could just use AI and say, tell me the top,
people want to
the
know
top
about
12
affordable
concerns about affordable housing, and it'll come right up. So
Yeah.
so maybe that's a better approach than a survey up front.
The other thought too is there's a lot of information, even if we just look through the public commentary on Snow Road when it was in front of the select board for the LIP, 1727 in front of the planning board for Snow Road now. You're gonna see common themes of what the valid and they're all valid concerns to the people that are raising them, but there's a lot of them are rooted in misconceptions. What can we correct, or what can we help provide greater context for?
It's a great idea. Yeah, use public input that's already been submitted.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And I'd be happy to sift through that. I've already done that for a few projects, so sift through that and look for those themes.
Thanks.
Well, that's good. That'll take a step and some process out of it.
Okay, and just one last thing before we move on. Any thoughts, maybe this is more for Fiona and Amber, on where to get, potentially outreach to typical residents? And, because that would be nice to maybe, before we schedule our kind of workshop, to have some people in mind. Or who we could talk to about connecting
Sure.
with someone, or...
Yeah, I've been gathering a lot of great contacts just through other planning efforts through the master plan and then the Grafton Common Traffic Study. We engage with a lot of folks. Even the housing, the housing production plan, we still have, information, people who have signed up and said, I want to be updated on information from the planning department. And 99% of what the planning department does is housing related. So I think we can probably rely on some of those resources. I think it'll just be a mix of things, really. Obviously, the standard electronic channels that we always use, but maybe a little bit of mailing. Me probably physically going to the senior center. We'll just have a kind of multifaceted approach, and I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah, we can put it in the select board announcements too.
Planning board too.
Yeah.
ZBA.
Yeah, makes sense.
And everyone really. Yeah, particular groups. Just top of mind, the faith-based organizations. I know the Unitarian Church, the Common there is super interested in this topic, and they've reached out to me specifically about learning more, and they have a lot of connections. Yeah, just kind of those type, anything, any sort of like nonprofits in town. Yeah, we can get the list, and I can work with the library and the senior center and see if they have a list of groups that they work with, even some regional organizations too.
Makes sense.
Cool. All right. Anything else on the outreach meeting before we move on?
So we just need to schedule our workshop.
Yeah.
Okay. So once we get some,
So we're thinking November.
yeah. So then working backwards, we probably have to have this workshop like in early September.
Yeah, your regular meeting is September 11th.
So we
I mean, I don't know. I think we would have time during the regular meeting to cover this as well. I don't know that you need a separate workshop,
okay.
but that's up to you. If you're more comfortable having extra meetings, or one that's totally dedicated to this.
I think that's fine. I because then that gives us a month to do all these action items of kind of, because it seems like, yeah, we have outreach, kind of people to get in touch with, to gauge interest and so forth. So I think a month is reasonable, and then we can,
I think that maybe October would be more helpful to do a workshop where you're actually doing a run through.
perfect.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So September will be like collecting information and people and kind of confirming that. And then October will be run through. So we'll have time in between.
And October 9th is our regular meeting, so if it's looking like we'll have a light agenda October 9th, we can do it then. If it looks like we have a ton of things to do, we'll have a few more weeks before November even starts, and then whenever we have it scheduled in November, well, the 27th is Thanksgiving, so got plenty of time in November before that to schedule it.
So we should probably like in our next meeting, we should like kind of set a date.
Makes sense. That way, if we're having speakers and stuff,
Yeah.
it's fixed.
Yeah. So I guess then when reaching out to any speakers, like gauging availability, just so that we can
Yeah.
and then like early mid-November.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Cool.
Can I just ask a quick question? So, for me, just I should start putting feelers out there for the speakers now, obviously gauging their availability for November. And so did you want me to work on some survey related work, or are we
I think
No,
we
we're-
decided we're not going to do a survey.
okay?
We're
Just
just,
wanted to
when
make-
we advertise it, we can give the public an email address or some way to connect
Right.
back
Oh,
to
got
the
it.
trust,
Yes. Yep.
to just ask them, hey, if there's something that you're particularly interested in, we'd love to hear from you. Send an email to the trust or planning or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Got
a
it.
good
And we'll
idea.
we'll just gather that information on the fly, and then Brian's going to do a little bit of research with some of the projects that are ongoing.
Yes. Okay. Got it. Perfect.
So then, but the outreach for you, Fiona, is CHAPA, MHP, and then a typical resident or
Mhm.
residents of an affordable housing of
Yep.
programs.
So, as far as faith-based organizations, what would the discussion be, I guess, with them? Would it be just, hey, we're thinking about having this, or we're having this housing forum in November,
I
can you
think-
advertise it, or?
I think that's what Fiona was saying. I think we were talking a little bit about two different things. I think it was because what you were talking about earlier is how you want to paint the picture of what does a physical affordable housing unit look like, and what is a typical resident to kind of combat that typical conversation of, well, it brings crime, well, kind of what is a snapshot of a resident. And then I think, Fiona, what you were talking about is reaching out to groups that may be affected or interested in affordable housing for informational purposes. So I think it was just two different. So,
Okay.
and Fiona, if that's something you want to table for, like, the picture of a resident, you know, like how do we, I know the senior center sounded like that was the right avenue, but I don't know, like if for this particular goal, if like going to the church or the library is the path, other than for promotion, which will be once we set the date and we want to spread the word around it.
Okay. Yeah, so oh yeah, no, I'm following. I just want to make sure that I have it clear. So I think we did agree that's probably not ideal to be picking sort of like when you're saying like paint the picture of like you know, somebody who is living in affordable housing, like focusing on maybe like their actual occupation, right? I think Brian had mentioned that it might be tricky if we start, or did I get
I
that?
think well, it's just an idea, but I think
I mean, I have no problem
I think it's
with it.
important to humanize
Mhm.
what affordable housing is, so that people get a sense of the, you know, families that are actually living in affordable homes.
And I wonder
Yeah.
if one of the folks that groups that Fiona's probably going to be reaching out to already might be able to provide. Listen, I don't need names. I don't even need to know like where people live, but give me a profile of, you know, I've got somebody in an affordable unit that's a single mom with 2 kids. I've got somebody in an affordable unit that's a family of 4 and just happen to be, you know, 2 public school teachers that, you know, they're making salaries that qualify them for an affordable unit. And just kind of draw a couple different examples of you know, different types of family or living situations that you know, that could be very similar to what we've got in town.
Yeah, I think people will be a little sensitive, so I'm not suggesting we reach out to residents and sort of
Yeah.
profile them, but I guess what I'm thinking about, the flavor of it is, hey, meet the families.
Yeah.
You know, and it would be generic, anonymized. These are some typical examples of people that live in affordable homes. This is what it looks. These are the types of families that we're talking about. Just again, to just kind of humanize it and
Got it.
yeah. So that's what I was thinking about. Meet the families, kind of thing.
And one thing that came to mind, it might have been on that same slide, but a question I'd like you to either weave into a slide or somewhere in the conversation, you know, do you qualify for affordable housing? I wouldn't be surprised, especially looking at how large the numbers are in Grafton based on the census data, that there's people in Grafton that have no clue that they would qualify for an 80% AMI unit.
Makes sense.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Just one thing for maybe Fiona to have as context when she's reaching out to potential speakers. Are we thinking weekday night, weekend, whatever the speaker's availability might be? I don't know if we want to give them any parameters
I
or.
think we had been looking at like a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Thursdays, we could make a Thursday work too, but I would say November 5th, 6th, 12th, or 13th.
Sounds good.
I would want to stay away from the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I don't even think, going into the week of Thanksgiving is a good idea.
Makes sense.
I agree. Okay, cool.
I won't be I will be away on the 12th and the 13th, but that doesn't really matter. Just wanted to let you all know.
Sure.
While we're doing whereabouts, I'm going to be in London for the September meeting, so I won't be able to make that one.
Okay. Are there any other action items that we can work on individually between now and the September? So like, I know, yeah, Fiona, you're looking into speakers, but in terms of like boiling down the key points, like I'm happy to take that on, and have a draft ready in advance of the September meeting, maybe even share this feedback back with Nicole. And then Brian, it sounds like you're going to be looking into some information maybe for like handout, kind of appendix. Anything else I'm missing or anything anyone wants to
I will just say, it was mentioned, Matt said this earlier, but yeah, maybe teasing out the information from the housing production plan and maybe some planning efforts that are speaking directly to housing, just so we can highlight, and we're always tying back what we do to these planning efforts. Yeah, master plan and housing production plan. And then the trust also has a 2016, which is, outdated now, but it's the content is actually still pertinent, I think, the action plan. I think it would be something to highlight. The trust went, got a very good consultant to do it. There is good information in it. And it also kind of breaks down some of those fundamental questions of, where does affordable housing trust funds come from? How are they formed? What are the different things that you can do with this money, etc.
Would you be, sorry, what was the name of that document? I know that's like a big one. Could you share that with us or just?
Yeah.
Okay.
It has its own page on the website.
Okay.
The action plan.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's might be buried in the resources page.
Okay. And it's called, it was done in 2016.
Yeah, I think it's Affordable Housing Trust Action Plan.
Okay.
It's a 5-year plan, so again, it's a little bit outdated, but I do think that a lot of the information is
I'll share the
is
link
helpful.
with everybody. There are a bunch of documents linked from there. Like they're, old presentations from when they were building it. And
Perfect. Okay.
yeah, it should be helpful.
Cool.
Alrighty. And anything else on the the outreach meeting?
Keep going.
It's good stuff. It's important details.
Yeah.
All right. Next is the update on 25 Worcester Street. Hand it over to Fiona.
Yes. So I mentioned at the last meeting, so I spoke with Worcester Community Housing Resources Council a while ago, trying to set up a meeting with staff. He was going to get back to me and then it kind of fell through, but we were able to connect a few days ago. They are ready. They are officially ready to set up a meeting with myself, ZBA administrator. I'm hoping that maybe we can try and get maybe Bill McCusker or somebody from the ZBA on that meeting as well. It's just going to be internal, just to kind of talk through what they, what to expect through the permitting process and what they'll need and those logistics. But one thing that they did want to figure out beforehand is they used Bowler Engineering for the initial feasibility work. And they would like to work with them again, because Bowler is a very good firm. But I, just out of an abundance of caution, just given the sensitive nature of the project, I wanted to just confirm that there would be no conflict of interest or any sort of concerns raised from using Bowler twice. So I am waiting to hear back from the State Ethics Commission and our town council, and just if there's any problems with that. They also were looking, they mentioned Quinn Engineering, Quinn Engineering as well are the two firms that they would like to work with. So waiting to get a confirmation about that, because they will need obviously to bring a engineering firm onto their team to do some of that, the preliminary permitting and design work that will ultimately inform their project eligibility letter and kind of get that process started. So it's moving. I think that they're very eager to try and get this going, and I think I followed up twice with council and the State Ethics Commission. So hopefully I'll hear something by early next week, and then I can get them an answer. And then in the meantime, they can get their team together, and then we can just still meet and go over some of the logistics from the permitting side of things. So that's the big update that I have on 25 Worcester. I don't have much else, but they do seem like they are ready to move now that they've gotten some of their other preliminary work done.
Cool. Questions on that? All right. And then next is the town planner report. So I will hand it over to Fiona again.
Perfect. Yes. Smooth transition. So we so I just right off the bat, I will say the flexible development work that we had talked about previously, that I had not had an opportunity to um, give CMRPC some actual proper feedback. So that project is on hold, but I did want to just kind of start off and say that we're still working on it, but it just the rollout might be a little bit slower than anticipated. So have no fear. I will keep you updated when there's something to update you on. That's my fault. I do need to refocus on that effort. But I had a meeting with CMRPC the last week as well regarding the ADU bylaw language that we're going to be bringing to town meeting in the fall. We have a game plan moving forward. We are going to have CMRPC present a draft at the August 25th planning board meeting. I wanted to ask you all if you were interested in posting that as a joint meeting and attending so that you can provide your thoughts on the draft, or just kind of voice general support or whatever. If people are around, I do realize that it's not giving you a lot of notice, but this did kind of transpire fairly recently.
And so
Something
you said that
to-
was the draft ADU bylaw?
Yes, so CMRPC is working on the draft language now and is going to get it present on the 25th for the board. It's going to be just the first kind of initial round of comments on the draft. So we want to make sure that, if the trust can come, they can come and voice their concerns or support or what have you.
Yeah, I think.
I can send out an email asking for folks' availability so I know whether to post.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. And other than that, I haven't heard anything about High Point yet. MHP is probably busy, and I know that there's a lot of crazy summer schedules there. I'm getting a lot of out of offices. So we'll follow up about the site visit once I hear back. We did planning board officially close the public hearing for a project at 277 Providence Road. It's 4 duplexes. There are no affordable units because it did not meet, it needed to have more than 8 units in order to trigger the affordability component. But it is, it's a great project and an area that definitely needs housing. There's a similar project across the street at 274 Providence Road. There's more units obviously in that development, but it will bring, much needed housing, more compact style housing to the area. Generally, it was great to see, the board was generally supportive. We did get some initial commentary about the aesthetics of the building. But other than that, it was kind of done in 2 meetings, and I'm working on that final permit. But that's kind of been the biggest housing project that we've had honestly since 17 and 27 Upton Street. So looking forward to closing that out, and I think they're going to probably start construction very soon. So other than that, I don't have much. I'm happy to answer any questions about anything specific that I mentioned or anything that I should be prioritizing from your perspectives.
No.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Select board report.
I don't have a whole lot to report other than on 1727. So the select board has met a couple of times in executive session. The town is in negotiations with the developer to address the funding of the remediation of the hazardous materials on site. So there's don't want to go into it too much, but there's some ambiguity in the purchase and sales agreement in terms of who's responsible for that remediation, and that's what's being discussed. So right now, that's where we're at. We're doing the best that we can to move through that process as quickly as possible. Of course, protecting the town's interests in the process. Unfortunately, the project is where it is until that issue gets resolved. The purchase and sales can't be executed. We can't convey the property. There can't be. I don't think that they want to pay for building permits until that's been done. So it's sort of, this is where we're at. So yeah, that's about all I have there.
All right.
I accidentally left goals review on there. I apologize.
It's always good to
we've
review the
already
goals.
gone
Actually, it
over.
was good to have it on there, especially I didn't realize we committed to 2 of these.
Having it
meetings.
handy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's actually, and I think we had actually discussed that of actually leaving the goals on the agenda.
Just
That,
standing. up.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's why I forgot to get rid of it. I'm just so used to it being.
Yeah.
I know one of the goals was to have the goals workshop within 90 days of July 1st, but with last year's not taking place until January, I didn't know if if the plan was just kind of roll with those goals, if we wanted to have kind of a brief update to see if anything, has either been addressed and can come off, or if there's anything else to add since then. But
Yeah, because I think the whole point of doing the within 90 days of July was for new members, and I think that's I think that is a good idea to get in the habit of kind of having something for new members to kind of like welcome and inform you of kind of yeah, I wonder if we can kind of use I think it's great timing that you're coming in now with the timing of this outreach meeting, because it's like the perfect collection of all of this information. And then but yeah, I don't know if anyone I don't really feel like, since it has been so recent, that we need to like change the goals, but I do think maybe it's worth having maybe like a little bit more of an overview around them in one of our next meetings.
We could just make an incremental update to them and say, this is our goal starting for this fiscal year.
Yeah.
And not make a whole lot of changes.
Yeah.
'Cause that does make some sense to me too. It's just as like sort of a onboarding for new
Yeah.
members.
Yeah, I agree. So is that something that, do you think we should carve out time, like in our next meeting? I know we're gonna have kind of a lot to discuss during our next meeting, or like the October meeting, or how should we handle that?
I would say let's plan to do it September, and then if it turns out there's something big that comes up, we put it off to October.
That
And
sounds
maybe
great.
what we could do is just, put it out and solicit emails back for any additions.
Yeah.
So that, or minor changes. And otherwise, we can just look at it, review it, maybe check off things that have been done already, and then just reissue it essentially as the goals for the year.
That sounds good.
One little thing I would like to change though is 90 days after July 1st. Can we just pick a date for that instead of having to do the math every time I think about it? Just make it like, so that we like before October. But yeah.
Fair. That sounds good.
before fall town meeting.
Yeah. Well, so the other thing though is later down in the goals, it also says hold 2 outreach meetings each
Right.
year around the time of town meeting, and so I think I think part of the reason for that was that we wanted to, like, if we had something at town meeting that we wanted to advocate for, like that could be a part of it. I don't know if we will. I guess that depends a little bit on whether planning board has any zoning articles that might relate to affordable housing, but I'm not aware if they're considering that. I mean, other than maybe the ADU bylaw, I don't know if that'll be ready for October. Fiona, is that probably going to be ready for October?
Yeah, it should be ready for October because we really are going to be we really aren't going to be straying too far from the law. You know, it's they have a great model bylaw with all of the information that's needed there, and we don't want to be, you know, contradicting or inadvertently contradicting, I should say, you know, the goals of the state. So we should be, yeah, fine.
Okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's just one thing I wanted to kind of point out. So that with the goals workshop, I feel like I don't know if we wanted to like coordinate those in the future, but obviously we're not quite sticking to the that aspired schedule there. So maybe for next year.
But yeah, it's gonna be so much easier once we have done it once.
Yeah. Cool. All right. And anything else on goals? All right. We got minutes. Anybody have any corrections for amendments, etc., for the minutes?
Just one question. And we all probably saw the new town clerk's note on minutes and materials and links. And I think where we typically have the links to both the recording and the packet or any meeting materials, are we confident that those are quasi permanent links, or I guess as permanent as an internet link can be?
Yeah, this link that I use goes to the Agenda Center where all of our materials are.
Yeah.
And rather than going to instead of making a very specific link to a document, it goes to just where all of those materials live.
Okay. I guess if we got
The
to the point
YouTube
where
links are pretty solid.
I know, and when I ran into this, it was looking up something that was a little bit more ancient, but there was a cycle where GCTV was kind of cycling through, once something got a certain age, it got purged from YouTube. I don't know if we have a limit on how much space we have or things like that, but I guess, a recording of the meeting, I think would be less sensitive than the materials themselves. I think we should be good there.
Cool.
I was nervous. I thought I was going to be 0 for 2 with Brian on my minutes. Fixing stuff.
All right.
On that note, I move we accept the meeting minutes for July 10th, 2025, as presented.
Second.
All right. Motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. We can vote. We don't have to do roll call. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The minutes are approved, and the last thing is adjourn.
I motion we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We are adjourned.
Thanks, Dan.
Oh.
Thanks.